About the movie, The Assistant is produced in 2019 and follows the life of Jane, played by Julia Garner. Jane is a recent college graduate and an aspiring film producer who has recently landed her dream job as a junior assistant to a powerful entertainment company. Her day is much like any other assistant.
As Jane follows her daily routine, she starts to aware about the mistreatment around her. After suffering a lot of humiliation from her co-worker and boss, Jane decided to stand up for herself, but then only to discover the true depth of the organization that she had entered.
Synopsis of Scene 1. As an assistant, Jane begins her everyday routine as she cleans and arranges the office. Though she's tired of doing the usual job every day, she does not slack off from her work and continues doing so diligently. Work ethic. Work ethic is an attitude of determination and dedication towards one's jobs. Individuals with good work ethics will remain focused on tasks for as long as they need to do. So in this case, Jane displays a very good work ethic, since she is very dedicated to finishing the job no matter how tedious they are. This act will encourage a good employee habit, which is avoiding procrastination at work. Any job given will be done as soon as possible. No job delay means that employees will not wait until the deadline to settle their work, and this will lessen the burden and stress of the employees. I recommend that employees should encourage positive work behavior by giving rewards. For example, promoting or raising salary only for the employees with good work ethic and performance. Scene 2. Jane buys food for lunch and proceeds to distribute the food among her co-workers. However, one of her co-workers begins to voice out his dissatisfaction over the choice of food. Afterward, he blatantly puts back the food inside the paper bag and said, "Forget it," with a displeased expression. Respect is the act of treating people with appreciation and dignity. A respectful attitude should be maintained in the workplace regardless of personal feelings. In this case, Jane's co-worker shows a disrespectful attitude towards Jane and does not even say thank you to acknowledge the deed Jane has done for him, such as buying lunch. The act of disrespect causes Jane to feel insulted and not appreciated as a colleague. Disrespectful behavior will result in a miserable work environment and is likely to increase employees' turnover. I recommend that Jane's co-worker should be thoughtful of other people's feelings by not bringing down their efforts and be respectful to improve relationship between colleagues. Scene 3. Jane was asked by the boss to send Sienna, the new assistant, to a 5-star hotel. Sienna asked Jane if all the new staff would be staying at the hotel when they first came, to which Jane replied, they don't. Afterwards, she tells Jane that she first met the boss during the conference where she works as a waitress, indicating she had no prior working experience as an assistant. Favoritism in the workplace is favoring for reasons outside of the job performance. An employer should treat all his employees equally and fairly. The boss is biased in the treatment of Sienna as he decides to place her in a hotel despite the fact that new employees other than Sienna were not given the same opportunity. The act of favoritism by employer would cause lower employee morale and resentment. Employees would be demotivated to do work as they feel that their performance is disregarded. I recommend that the employer should have sharing sessions where the employees can share their thoughts freely and share incidents where they feel ignored to make room for improvement.
Synopsis Scene 4. In this scene, we can see that the male assistant constantly being rude to Jane. He always crumbled a paper and threw it to Jane to gain her attention. He asked Jane to handle the problem by answering the phone call from the boss wife with a rude manner. Apart from that, he also liked to put his feet on the table, which is inappropriate to be done in the workplace. The theory for this scene is politeness. The issue arises when the male assistant shows disrespectful behavior towards Jane when he constantly throws a crumpled paper to Jane when he wants Jane to do something. The cause and effect of his rude behavior is that Jane might feel uncomfortable around him and it will affect their relationship and their works. For the recommendation, I suggest that the maid assistant apologize to Jane sincerely and use appropriate ways to ask for Jane's help. Synopsis Scene 5. In this scene, we can see that Jane was being scolded by her boss with some offensive word. He was mad at Jane because she does not back him up when the wife called the office to ask for the problem. He then blamed Jane for what happened and said she is the worst worker despite being smart in her studies. The theory for this scene is unprofessional work behavior. The issue arose after the boss was being scolded by his wife, and he then called Jane and vented his frustration at Jane and uttered some offensive words that hurt Jane. Jane was being scolded and blamed for what happened. The cause and effect from this behavior is that it might make Jane blame herself for what has happened and feel devastated by the remarks from her boss. I recommend that the boss should not involve his worker with his personal problem and solve his personal problem at home. Synopsis Scene 6. In this scene, we can see that Jane went to the Human Resource Department to file a complaint about her boss' sexual activities. But then it got turned down as the head of the department decided to turn a blind eye. He then continued to downgrade her and said that if she continued to be like this, it will greatly affect her career. The theory for this scene is interpersonal communication. The issue is the head of human resource does not take Jane's complaint seriously and decided to turn a blind eye and said he is too busy to take care of everyone in the company. The cause and effect of his behavior is that Jane will feel down and will not have any courage to do anything to stand out for herself in the future. Apart from that, he also discouraged the employee to complain any wrongdoing in the company. For the recommendation, the human resource should do his job properly and listen to all of the complaints seriously and take an appropriate measure without downgrading the staff.
So in conclusion, we can learn a lot about the workplace environment from this video excerpt about unprofessional behaviors such as miscommunication, favoritism, and rude behavior.
Those unprofessional behavior that was mentioned by Azurin before obviously can affect relationship with others and give additional problem. So it is important for us to show professionalism during work and respect everyone regardless of their post. Thank you.